Welcome again. We continue the chapter of personal hygiene and strategies in this lesson. In previous lesson, we learned definition of hygiene, importance of hygiene skills for people with intellectual disabilities, and also types of hygiene skills. In this lesson, we will discuss how to determine which hygiene skill to teach and which one to start with, and how can we assess the people with intellectual disabilities performance on hygiene skills. End of the session, I hope that you will explain the process of deciding which hygiene skill to teach, and also you will assess the hygiene skill. In previous lesson, we learned types of hygiene skills like hand washing, nail hygiene, and dressing. There are lots of hygiene skills. So the question is, what skills do individuals with intellectual disabilities need to learn? And which skills should we start teaching in instruction? According to literature, the criterion of ultimate functioning, a hierarchy of important therapeutic tasks can be generated based on whether the individual will be able to function independently in adulthood without learning a particular skill. For example, toilet training may be a more critical treatment target than nail clipping. So there are some skills suit a person and some skills cannot. So we can't answer this question, the question, what skills do individuals with intellectual disabilities need to learn? And we cannot answer this question in a single way. To answer this question, let's see the assessment models of skills. Skills can be determined in three different ways: developmental assessment, prerequisite skills, and naturalistic observations. Let's start with the developmental assessments. In order to select appropriate intervention targets, it is often necessary to consider the developmentally appropriate sequence of skill acquisition. The majority of self-care skills are typically acquired between 6 and 2 years of age. You can see the table here, and there is some stages of some skills. For example, let's see the toileting skills. Children can fuse for diaper to be changed at age of 15 months, and they can indicate toilet needs at age of 28 months, and they can urinate independently at age of 36 months. What does it mean? It means we cannot push children to learn toilet skills, for example, at age of 2. We cannot push children to learn it. Of course, this is for normal developments, but it's not so big difference between normal children with normal typical developing and children with special needs to gain some skills. So if you work with children in early childhood, especially, you have to absolutely take serious of this developmental assessment. And the second, how can we assess developmentally in some skills? There are some assessment tools here. Of course, there are many tools, but these are the most common used tools. One-line adaptive behavior skills of independent behavior revised, age and stages questionnaire, Bailey scales of infant and toddler development, and Peabody. You can use these tools to assess your students developmentally. So the second one is prerequisite skills. In order to design effective individualized treatments for self-care skills, it is often necessary to assess the individual's foundational developmental skills. There are prerequisite skills that need to be known in order to perform certain skills. Without sufficient proficiency in these skills, we cannot perform next skill. For example, if you plan to teach your student bathing, this student should know how to wash her hands. This is very important because there are some steps in hand washing, some basic steps in there, and this child should use these steps also in during the bathing. So if, for example, if the child cannot use soap or cannot turn on or turn off the tap independently, it's very difficult to learn bathing, and this because bathing is very complex skill here. This is about the special education principle here. We should follow the principle of teaching skills from easy to difficult. This is the principle of special education, because children with intellectual disabilities learning style is this. They cannot learn very easily. Of course, they can learn many skills. They can learn many things, but their learning style is going very slow. So with this reality, we have to consider the special education principle here. The third one is naturalistic observations. In addition to standardized instruments and prerequisite skills, naturalistic observations are important components of a comprehensive assessment. Direct observations provides insight as to how an individual genuinely interacts with their environment. For example, as a special education teacher, after the art lessons, you can observe your students' hand washing skills, and you can understand that, for example, if they don't wash their hands, you can understand that you should teach this skill for this student. And but there are some skills that you cannot observe directly. So in this situation, you can ask parents to parents' ideas and parents' observations. For example, if you understand which personal hygiene skills this child can do and not, you can ask parents. Of course, you can observe some skills at the school, but you cannot observe some skills like menstrual or maybe clipping nail or this kind of skills, or bathing. You cannot observe at school, so you can ask parents that if the child can do this skills independently, and also if this child have this child can do these skills every day or every week regularly. It's very important. So it's very helpful for teachers. And overall, the aim is to select the right skills. We aim to teach the very helpful skills for our students with intellectual disabilities. And the selection of appropriate skills is crucial to enhance the life functions of individuals with intellectual disabilities. And by conducting multiple assessments rather than relying on a single evaluation tool, and we can choose the right skills that will improve their quality of life. So this is the a very important step here. So we cannot say that this assessment model is more important than the other one. So we can say this. We had to combine these three methods together. Okay. Let's assume that we assess the children's needs, and we understand that there are some skills that are very important for your students. So the second thing we should do is assessment the skill performance of the child. Okay, how can we do that? For example, if you plan to teach hand washing, how can you assess the child's performance? We use the task analysis here. Task analysis involves breaking a complex skill into smaller teachable units, the product of which is a series of sequentially ordered steps or tasks. For example, as I said before, if you plan to teach hand washing, children can have some difficulties. For example, turn on or turn off the tap, or they can have some difficulties about using some soap. So you should understand what is the problem of the child on this skill. Let's doing some exercises here. This is task analysis exercises, and the first exercise is about hand washing. And please watch the next video, and write down the steps of hand washing. Then we will discuss about it.
All right, Joseph, ready to wash your hands?
Yes.
All right, let's get started. Okay, try turning off the water. Awesome job, Joseph. High five. Down low.
As you can see on the screen, there is task analysis of hand washing. And hand washing skill starts with turn on water, then hands in water, pump soap, rub hands, rinse hands, turn off water, get paper towel, dry hands, throw away paper towel. I hope that you wrote down every steps. Maybe you could miss some steps. It's quite normal at the beginning, but with exercises you will be more proficient on task analysis. Okay, and please watch the video again. Then assess the child's performance in every step. If the child can do the step on his own, put plus next to the relevant step in performance column. If the child can do not the step on his own or get help from teacher or do it wrong, put minus next to the relevant step in the performance column. Please do it. Then we will check the child's performance together.
All right, Joseph, ready to wash your hands?
Yes.
All right, let's get started. Okay, try turning off the water. Awesome job, Joseph. High five. Download.
Okay, let's continue to assess the performance of this child. As you can see on the table, you can see the steps here, same steps at the beginning of the video. And when we see on the table, we can understand that turn on water is okay. Child can do it. And hands in water, okay, a child can do it. And pump soap, rub hands, rinse hands are okay, but this child have difficulty on turning off water, and teacher helped him. So that's why this is minus here. And get paper towel, dry hands, throw away paper towel. These steps are okay. This child has done these steps correctly and independently. This is okay, and we understand that this child's performance is quite high here. Count of steps correct is 8, and percentage of steps correct is 88%. We understand that this child doesn't need help or doesn't need any instruction in every step here. We understand that this child needs help or needs some instruction in turn off water step. So you can understand that in the next lesson you will focus on teaching of this step, turn off water, because this child can do other steps here. And you can see some dates here. These dates mean that after every lesson you will assess this child's performance, and you can see the increase of this of the performance on this skill. For example, in today, this is the beginning of the lesson, and You can see the performance here, and if you aim that this child will do this skill correctly 100%, you will go on according to this reality. Of course, this is not realistic for the beginning. This is not realistic performance of beginning. We expect that at the beginning children perform like 0% correct, or 10% or 20%. These are quite normal for the beginning. Then day by day, step by step, the child's performance rise. I think these task analysis, this assessment model is quite helpful for children, and also this is helpful for teachers and parents. This is helpful for children because they can get some instruction. That's what they exactly need. They don't have to learn some steps that they have already known. And these task analyses are also important for parents and teachers, because actually, if a child with intellectual disability cannot learn immediately, we feel like, okay, this child cannot learn anything. This child cannot learn this skill. We feel like this. We can see the improvement of the skill. So this makes us very hopeless. So, but if you see the tables and if you assess the child's performance every day, or every lesson, or very often, you can see the increasement on this skill, and you feel like, or parents or special education teachers feel like, okay, this child can learn. Okay, this is very slow and very low, but there is a light end of the tunnel. This child can learn it. So this is very motivational thing for parents and teachers too. So this is your turn. Task analysis is quite important. You, as a special education teacher, you should improve your skills on task analysis to assess your students effectively. So we will do it again, okay? And in this time, this is about teeth brushing task analysis. In next video, you will watch teeth brushing, and please take notes for the steps of teeth brushing. Then we will check your analysis after the video, okay?
All right, my friend, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's brush teeth. Nice job. All right.
job. Spit. Spit. Good job. We're all done. Give me a high five. Awesome.
You watched the video, and I hope that you write down the steps. And please pause this video here and check your analysis. You checked your task analysis. I hope that there are many of them are right, but it's quite normal if you miss some steps at the beginning. It's quite normal, but as I said before, when you exercise for many times about task analysis, you can do this task analysis very effectively and very right, and you can exercise on task analysis as, for example, analyzing your daily routines or daily skills, like wearing shoes or this kind of other some daily skills. It's very helpful for you. And so what happens if we do the task analysis incorrectly? Let's see the video. It's very funny video. It's not about hygiene skills, but I believe that you will understand the importance of task analysis, importance of doing task analysis correctly.
Step 1. Get 2 pieces of bread out. Got 'em. Get a butter knife and get some PB. Take 1 piece of bread, spread it around with the butter knife.
No, Dad, with the peanut butter.
I'm just doing what it says. It says take 1 piece of bread, spread it around with the butter knife.
Hold on.
Get some jelly, rub it on the other half of the bread.
No, Dad, open the jelly.
Well, it doesn't say to do that. Put the breads together on top of each other. Take a big bite. This doesn't taste like a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Fail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I had to make it extremely specific.
Oh, good. I'm starving. Take 2 pieces of white bread out of the bag. Take the lid off the jar of peanut butter. Get a butter knife and stick it inside of the peanut butter jar. With the knife, scoop a bit of peanut butter out of the...
That means like a lot.
A bit means a lot?
In my world.
Spread your scoop of peanut butter onto 1 of your pieces of bread with the knife. All right. There we go.
You're doing better than before, though.
Open the jelly jar. Squeeze it onto the other piece of bread.
Nope.
Done. Closer.
I hope that you understand the importance of doing task analysis correctly. It's quite funny, and we see if we miss some points, if we miss some steps, there are some gaps by doing doing these skills. So for to not miss some steps, there are 3 methods of task analysis. The first method is observing a competence. Actually, what you have done is exactly this method. You watch, for example, teeth brushing video, then write down the steps. This is the observing a competence method. For example, if you plan to teach your students hand washing, you can observe your parents, your friends, when they wash their hands, and you can write down the steps of hand washing. The second method is consulting with expert. Actually, we don't use this method very often. We use this method for some specific situations. For example, if you're a man and your student is a girl, you can ask a woman about menstrual hygiene skills. Or if you are a woman, you can ask a man the shaving skill. So you don't have to ask, you don't have to consult with expert to teach teeth brushing, hand washing. These are quite daily skills, but other skills are also important, but they are very specific skills. So that's why you need to ask for some expert or a person. And the third method is performing this skill oneself. Especially we use this method very often. For example, if you plan to teach clipping the nail, you can do it on yourself. Then write down every steps what you have done. So you can do this task analysis, do it like this. Okay, this is the end of the session. Thank you so much for listening and joining our lesson. I hope that you learn the assessment of the hygiene skills and you enjoy it. See you next lesson.